Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. I hope everyone is doing very well today. Today I'm going to be doing the second half of my March book haul. I've scooted the camera a little closer. I got some feedback that people are having trouble hearing me, so I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me better with the camera a little bit closer. So let me know down below if you're having problems still hearing me or not. I apologize that the second half of my March book haul is coming so late. I don't know about you guys, but do you feel like this year has just been flying by? I cannot believe it's already a couple days into April already. I can't even imagine. So I'm a little bit behind, so I apologize. And I have quite a few books to go through, as you guys have learned with me. No problem buying books here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first three books I'm going to talk about are all the responsibility of Mercedes over at MercysMusings. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch her episode on Unnamed Press. She did a whole entire video about them, and they sent her 10 books, and she talked about their history and the kind of books that they publish. And I was so inspired that I went directly to their website to buy some books of my own. I'll link her video below for you, and I'll also link Unnamed Press below so that you guys can go check them out. Excuse me, I've gotten three books from them. One, Mercedes talked about herself. That's The Paper Man. It is by Gallagher Lawson, and it says that this is a story about a work of art, a walking, talking, breathing kind of art, one that wears a butterscotch tie and enjoys a bowl of shredded newsprint for breakfast. It is a story about dissatisfaction and ambition set in a beautiful but troubled city on the verge of collapse. A searing modern fable, The Paper Man makes mischievous fun of our conflicted identities and the crowdsourcing of our current selves. And I thought that when she talked about it sounded excellent. Excuse me. And so I went ahead and bought that one as well. So she'll talk about it more on her channel if you watch that one as well. The next one that I got is, and you may have to cover your ears because it's got a curse word in the title. It's called The Fine Art of Fucking Up by Kate Dicharry, I don't know how to say that last name. And basically, from what I can gather, this is the story of a woman who runs the art department of a school when a major flood comes through. And the flood kind of threatens to destroy her school, but it also brings to forefront all of the issues with her marriage. I think there is an exchange student that her husband is a temporarily adopted. That's an issue. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I thought it sounded a lot of like a lot of fun, sort of that Noah parable of the whole flood coming in and washing away all the good and bad. So that's The Fine Art of Fucking Up by Kate Dicharry. The last one I got from Unnamed Press is The Shooting, and I'll tell you exactly why. I saw that there was a book called The Shooting by James Boice. Let me get that up there so you can see his name. I'm probably saying that wrong. And the first line is, "Meet the most hated woman in America, Jenny Sanders, also known as the country's most successful gun control advocate." The Shooting, and the main character is the most successful gun control advocate. I just wanted to know more about why this book and what was going to happen in it, so I went ahead and got that one. I think it sounds really good. And it has a quote from Chuck Klosterman on the back that says, "James Boice is going to crush the world." I really like Chuck Klosterman's fiction, so I'm actually really excited for this one as well. Again, The Shooting by James Boice. And then, so I'm going to go from one favorite booktuber to the next here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of something that started because of Lauren in the books and Simon over at Savage Reads. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier is Simon's favorite book of all time. And in watching Lauren's channel, last year she was introduced to Daphne, and she has been reading all of her books. And in her top 10 of last year, she actually had quite a few of Daphne du Maurier's books. And one of them was this one, The Jamaican Inn. I actually have been having trouble finding Daphne du Maurier's books here. I have to really search for them and use bookstores, and this one just happened to be at a bookstore that I was doing an author event in, so I bought it. This one is about Mary Yellen, who moves to the Cornish coast and basically is fulfilling her mother's dying wish by going to the Jamaican Inn. I don't know much more about it. It's the one that I did the least research on before I purchased, but because it was there and I had never seen it before, I definitely picked it up. But Daphne du Maurier is very gothic, very Victorian. She also has sort of a quirky sense of humor, I think, from what I know about her. And I just thought when Lauren in the books talked about this that it was one that I needed to add to my list. So I'll link her channel below too, so you can go check it out. It was on her 2016 favorite books video if you want to check out what she has to say about it. Sticking with Simon. Simon had talked about this book. I want to say he did it mostly on Instagram, but that is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I really think the only thing that really brought me into this book is the fact that you have an admittedly unreliable narrator. He was saying that you have a girl who is telling her story, and she tells her story, and she'll tell you this piece of it, and then at the end say, allegedly. So it's almost if she calls into question everything that she said before. I think that sounds really good. It is a YA novel, and I happen to know, like, at the beginning of it, I think she has been in prison or in juvenile hall for a murder. I'm not quite sure, but I know that it sounded really interesting. I love an unreliable narrator, and I love the idea that this one it just tells you right up, I'm an unreliable narrator. So that's Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. Sorry, I have the sniffles today a little bit. I don't know what's going on, so I apologize. This one was not mentioned by Simon, but when I read the back of it, it kind of made me think of Simon. So I picked it up. It's actually a Target book club book. I don't know that everyone knows what Target is, but it's A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavalier. And it's kind of a play on Sherlock Holmes. It's about a boy named Jamie Watson. Clever, huh? Who gets a scholarship to a prep school where he meets Charlotte Holmes, who is supposedly the famous great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Sherlock Holmes. And while they're there, they kind of don't like each other, but they get wrapped up in a murder that is more or less based on one of Sherlock Holmes's stories, and they are accused of the murder, so they have to solve it. So I think it's the first in a series. I actually thought the cover was kind of fun and cool, and I thought it sounded interesting, and I haven't read any Sherlock Holmes. I know. I need to do it. Jean over at Jean's Bookishthoughts, gotta remember the name of her channel, I apologize, would probably be so upset, but I thought that sounded really fun, so I definitely picked it up. Okay, 5 more. This is actually the book I'm currently reading, but I did get it last month. It's Celine by Peter Heller. Peter Heller has had 3 books out. The first one was called The Dog Stars. It's a dystopian novel, which I really liked. And then the second one was called The Painter, which just wasn't my cup of tea. I think he's a great writer. I think it was well written, but the story itself was not very good. It wasn't that it was not very good. It was not very me, so I didn't like it. And then my friend Jana went and saw Peter Heller, and she said, I have a book. I have to send it to you. And she put this sticky in it. Enjoy. When I heard it was about a little old lady having adventures, I thought of you. I love a book about an old lady. But only because you said you like a book about old ladies. She listens, you know? I'm halfway through it right now. It's fantastic. It is about a woman in her late 60s who has been a private detective. It's the year after 9/11. That year she also lost both of her sisters, so the year of 9/11 was very sad for her, and she meets a woman who asks her to solve the mystery of her disappeared father. It is amazingly written so far. It's very sparse. He does this one thing that I don't like when he's like doing dialogue. He'll put pause, period, and then a sentence. It's almost like a script for a movie where he's telling you the speaker to pause. And as a reader, I find it strange. But other than that, he is all over Denver, Wyoming. It is Yellowstone National Park. It is beautiful. He is great at describing it. Not a whole lot has happened. It's a lot in the mind of this woman and how she thinks. I'm really, really enjoying it. I can't wait to see how it's going to end. So that's Celine by Peter Heller. If you haven't read The Dog Stars, which is a dystopian novel about a man who lives on an airplane field, I would highly recommend getting that one too. It's really very, very, very good. And it got a lot of good press a couple of years ago. So that's that one. This book's been around a bit. East West by Mashin Hamid. I'm sorry, Mr. Hamid. I totally butchered your first name. This is my Book of the Month Club book. If you don't know what Book of the Month Club is, I will link them down below. Here's what I know about this one. It's kind of a refugee tale where this couple wants to leave an unnamed foreign country, and they keep entering doors that every time they enter them when they get further and further west. So it's kind of like a science fiction refugee story. It's gotten very good reviews. His last book, The Reluctant Fundamentalist, I hope that's right, got really great reviews also. I think I have it. I haven't read it, but I wanted to read this one. I know Simon's talked about it, and I want to say someone else has talked about it too. So I think that it sounds really interesting. That's Exit West by Mashin Hamid. The next book was solely purchased because my husband walked up to me and said, you have to buy this book. And that is 100,000 Worlds by Bob Proehl? How do you say that last name? How would you say it? So here's what I know about this book. It's about a woman and her son. They've fallen out with his father, and she has now come to the point where she has to return him to kind of establish the child and his relationship with his father. And they're crossing the country, and in doing so, she is an actress from a sci-fi show, so she keeps stopping at different Comic-Cons. So she is acting as an actress in these Comic-Cons, and all the people that she meets along the way. If you don't know what Comic-Con is, it is these giant festivals that happen all over the United States where people get together to discuss comic books, movies, science fiction, superheroes. Lauren, if you're watching this, Lauren in the books, I think this is a book that David would like. I'm not sure, but it has that kind of sci-fi something nostalgia to it. Karen Joy Fowler, who wrote the Jane Austen Book Club, who I really like. She actually lives in Santa Cruz, not that far from me, and I kind of hope one day I'll run into her. But I really, really think it sounds exciting. He thought it sounded interesting, so of course I picked it up. He's not much of a reader. But I really am excited about it. That's 100,000 Worlds by Bob. Say that last name. Okay. Two more. So I was watching Jean's channel, a video that she did where she took a YA novel and recommended for people an adult novel that she thought you would like, which is a brilliant idea for a video, and I'm so sad I didn't think of it first. But she had been talking about a YA novel, and then she started talking about a novel by Helen Oyeyemi, which I can't remember, it had which in the title, which she sold me on, and I went to buy it, and they didn't have it. But they had a bunch of Helen Oyeyemi's stuff. And I picked up Mr. Fox, and it turns out I think I'm going to like everything this woman writes. But let me read you the back. Fairy tale romances end with a wedding. The fairy tales that don't get more complicated. In this book, celebrated writer Mr. Fox can't stop himself from killing off the heroines of his novels, and neither can his wife, Daphne. It's not until Mary, his muse, comes to life and transforms him from author into subject that his story begins to unfold differently. Meanwhile, Daphne becomes convinced that her husband is having an affair and finds her way into Mary and Mr. Fox's game. And so Mr. Fox is offered a choice. Will it be a life with a girl of his dreams, or a life with an all too real woman who delights him more than he cares to admit? So I thought that sounded really good. I almost bought everything on the shelf that they had except the book that Jean talked about. I'll link Jean's video below so you guys can go take a look at it. But I'm really excited. I'm going to pick up my first Helen Oyeyemi book. And that's Mr. Fox by Helen Oyeyemi. Kind of a cool cover too, right? Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my books all fell. So sorry. Shake and shatter. Lastly, the book I'm going to talk to you about is the author that I went and saw that day. This is The World to Come by Jim Shepard. Now, Jim Shepard is going to be one of the authors at Booktopia that I've been talking about too, but he came locally and was in a small location, so I thought, oh, you know what, I'll go see him. His big book last year was The Book of Aaron. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a Holocaust story. It did very well, was well thought of. This is a collection of short stories that he wrote. What was really impressive about meeting him is the amount of research that he does going into every story. And every story is very, very different. I've got some bad shadows. I'm just noticing as I give this video, I've got some shadow going on. I got some feedback that my sound wasn't that great. People were having a hard time seeing me, so I've closed a bunch of windows to try to get it to work. So I apologize about the lighting on this video. I'll try to get it better next time. The World That Comes by Jim Shepard. The one story that I'll tell you about is, and he has beagles. Look at his picture. He has all these dogs. He was really nice. I really enjoyed him. And he signed my book. The story that is the main story is actually about two women that live in farm America at a time when really your neighbors were your only connection to the world. And this woman's neighbor is far away and she moves away and she loses pretty much her only friend. And he said that this was like spawned by reading farm journals randomly. Who does that? I don't know. But I think that sounds really interesting. Sounds very Willa Cather to me. I like stories that are simple and straightforward. Every story, there was a lot of stuff about war in here. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that. I'm not a big war reader, but I really liked his thought process when I talked to him, and I think he sounds like a very thoughtful and invested writer. So that's The World to Come by Jim Shepard, a collection of short stories. So those are the rest of the books that I got in the month of March. I hope some of them interest you. If you've read them, please talk about them below. Let me know. If any of them remind you of other books, please let me know. Give me a shout out about the sound if you're still having problems. Apologize for the light. Not great. I hope everyone's doing well. It was really nice to talk to you guys. Have a great day. Bye.